think that just ended and here I am. Hello everybody, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Coco Huff for cocohuff.com and I am so excited to cook with you tonight. So we are here in my kitchen where we've been talking about classic dishes every week, breaking them down into easy steps, hopefully, and talking about how to get the most flavor and the most stress-free, delicious food in your own kitchen. So we've had some great requests, we've had a lot of fun, and tonight we are making a classic steak tartare, which I am very excited about. So hello Helene, hello David, welcome, I'm so happy to see you. Last week was David's birthday, this week Helene's son got married. I know this thanks to Facebook, so congratulations to you. And I'm excited to cook with you. So as usual, we're here in my kitchen, things happen the way things happen, so actually, PSE&G was just digging outside my front door until about 30 seconds ago. So I hope they're gone. I was like, please don't let me lose power. And it was very noisy, so they're gone, it's quiet, knock on wood. Anyway, so steak tartare is a classic French dish. We've done a few of those. And the base of it is raw beef. And then there are classic flavorings and spices, not so much spices, but herbs and capers and things like that that go into the mix to give it flavor. So we're going to talk about how to prepare it at home, how to do that safely, and how to make it really delicious and do it the classic way. So Helene says it's one of her favorites. She's had it twice in her day. It is one of my favorites too. And I was preparing and thinking about it and I thought it's one of my favorites. And then I thought, do I say that every week? Maybe I say that every week. It's one of my favorites. I have a lot of favorites. And then if someone ever says, what's your favorite food? I'm like, I have no idea. I can't think of anything. Maybe this is why. So, okay, we're going to look first at like two pictures and talk about how we can do this, but right now my beef itself is in the freezer. So let me get that out and we'll talk about why it's in the freezer. And okay, actually it can stay in for a few more seconds. It's going to stay in for a few more seconds while I talk. So the reason our beef is in the freezer is a tenderloin. I have a 1 pound portion of tenderloin that I'll show you in just a minute. And tell me you're not looking at a video again. No, you're looking at me, right? Hopefully. I see my old video that was already up. Anyway, hopefully you're looking at me. Give me a thumbs up if you are. But we put our beef tenderloin in the freezer because it's very soft and we want it to be more firm when we're cutting it up. So let's look at some pictures. These are, hold on, I'm switching views here. Oh, I see myself again. Okay. This is the one that I had as, whoa, that's really up close, but I had this as the promo. That's one that I made in my kitchen very recently. So I mixed everything in. We have capers, mustard, some shallot right here that we're going to slice up, everything together. Another way to do it, and this picture is from a trip to Paris, is really the meat by itself and then the toppings on the side or on top, a little bit more deconstructed, which is a newer term for an old way of doing it. And in that case, there was a Parmesan crisp tuile on top. Let me show you this again because see this Parmesan crisp on top, which we are going to make also. And I already made my little test one here, and it's very difficult to not eat it while we were waiting. But that meal, that was like when you get off the plane and arrive in Paris and you're tired and you're hungry, and we found this little cafe and we had that and it was like, oh, this is the most wonderful thing. So, okay, let's get started. David says, you can see me, that's good news. Okay. Let's see here. I have my beef. It's been in for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It's been in the freezer for 30 minutes. It could go even a little bit longer. The recommendation I saw was 20, but this is still pretty soft. You don't want it hard as a rock though. So as you saw, the steak tartare looks like a hamburger, but this is a whole piece of beef. So we're starting with this piece of tenderloin because we want to be able to control the quality of the meat. So when you have ground beef, I'm not saying it's poor quality, but you don't know exactly what's in there as much. It's probably not the top of the line of like a prime tenderloin. And it has this surface area of all the parts that have already been ground. So in terms of safety, more bacteria can get in there over time, as opposed to this whole piece where it can only be on the outside. So this has been in the freezer, and we are going to cut it ourselves. So let's talk first about the knife. I'm going to sharpen my knife, and actually Teresa, I don't know if Teresa's here right now, we were talking about knife sharpening. I'm a little abusive to my kitchen tools, so I will put this in the dishwasher. I love this knife. This is a wonderful knife, but I will put it in the dishwasher, and then when I take it out, even if it's still wet, I run it through this knife sharpener. So this has a coarse edge and a fine edge, and we want to make sure this is actually pretty sharp, because if it's dull, you can feel it dragging, like as if it was sandpaper on a coarse surface. You would feel it dragging, and then as it gets smoother, you can feel it being smooth. So this is pretty smooth already, but we want our knife to be sharp so it doesn't pull at the meat. Right, which is another point. You could use a food processor. Let me show you this up close. We're going to remove this fat as well, and any kind of skin that's on there, which there is not much. So I would not recommend a food processor. You could do it for ease of use, but it, just as we were just saying, you don't want the knife to pull at the meat. And like, I'm trying to just think how to describe this. If you're cutting beef and it's pulling, it gets kind of stretched and you can get these long pieces, and that's not what we want. We want a very even, small dice, basically. So I'm going to cut off this fat. The beef tenderloin, it's an expensive cut of meat, but we're doing this 1 pound will serve 4 people, and it's not filled with fat, and since it's raw, we would not want it to be filled with fat. What else? Right, and it's just so tender to eat. You know, there's no toughness. There's this bit of fat on the outside, but not a lot of connective tissue. That's the other difference, that since we're eating it uncooked. All right. I'm probably, I don't know, this isn't a real show, so I'm probably supposed to say, you know, if you have immunocompromised or pregnant or all that, maybe this is not the dish for you, but maybe it can go into your repertoire in the future. All right, I'm just removing this little strip of fat. I don't see any silver skin, which would actually look silver. And there we go. So this is pretty nicely cleaned. All right, you can take a look at that up close. I'll just remove this little stripe also. Whoops, so I will actually add, it's good. It's a tiny bit for this amount. All right, I will add a link to the knife sharpener. It's a more updated version. I actually already shared that with Teresa for anyone who's interested in that. Okay, so we have our piece of meat. We're going to chop this into a fine dice. So what we want is like less than 1/8 of an inch. You can kind of do it how you like, but thin slices like this. We're going to stack them. We'll do a bunch at once and then stack them. Yeah, this is very cold. You can get it almost to the point where you could feel a little bit of like crystallization from being frozen, but not totally frozen. Obviously, you would not be able to cut it. So I should say, because I always forget to say, if you have questions or if you want to just chit chat, if you have had this before, Helene said she has. I don't know if David, if you have, or if you've had other raw beef dishes like carpaccio. There's so many delicious things like this that we can make together. All right, I'll do half at once. So I stack up these very thin slices, and then I'm going to cut crosswise. I think one of the recipes I saw called it an elegant dice. So fairly uniform and you know, not mushed. It still has some texture to it. And then I'm cutting crosswise this way. Did I finish my thought about questions? I don't know if I did or not. If you have questions, let me know. It could be about this, it could be about equipment, anything we've done so far. So here's our first bit. That's a quarter of it so far. Then we have this stack crosswise to make like matchsticks. And then we're going to go across the other way. Okay. And I'll quickly do the rest of it before we dice up our shallot. Oh, I'm going to turn my oven on low, and we want to do the traditional, serve this with toast points. So actually, I'll cut the crusts off of these before I put them with a different knife. All right, with serrated knife, I'm going to make just some rectangles out of our bread. And it's traditional to, take your toast points and put a little bit of the steak tartare on it. It's just so good. I think I've had this about 2 billion times at Anthony Bourdain's restaurant in Layal in New York City. It was my favorite thing to order there. Okay. We have our triangles cut for toast points. And that's just going to go in the oven for a few minutes. Don't let me forget that's in there. I won't forget. All right, crusts over there, and we'll continue with the beef. All right, so that's halfway done. Some thin slices. So I love when I go into my photos and just now you can do such a good search on the Mac for photos, and I type Paris food and everything I've ever ate in Paris comes up, and usually there's an example of what we're making on this live stream, and I'm like, oh, it was all just so good. It was so beautiful. And so simple. That's the thing about it. Like the croque madame that we made last week. This is very simple. It's not complicated once you do it. So that's the fun of it. But Paris food, I sometimes type that in just for the heck of it and look for a while. Oh, my brother says it is a real show. Thank you. Thank you, David. It is a real show. Why did I say that? It's my own show. I'm having a ball. I know everyone. Oh, some people sent me pictures this week and I did not upload them. Well, Suda said she made the salad dressing from last week, which I was very pleased about. Teresa and I chatted about food for a while. So thank you, David. Thank you for correcting me. It is my show in my happy kitchen. And I'm just glad you're all here. All right, we're almost done with this. That was funny. All right, so let me just hold up one little piece. I don't know how well. Oh, well, goodness, I'm talking away while you're looking at my hands, so you are getting the up close and personal here. But I wanted to show you the size of the dice. Like, this is the size we're going for. These tiny little, smaller than a pea size minced beef, basically. Teresa's here. Hello, how are you? We were just talking about knife sharpeners. I was saying you and I had that conversation a couple of weeks ago. So, all right, we're almost done. 2 more stacks. Matchsticks. All right, and then smaller than a pea size dice. So anything we're dicing, we're going to do the same with the shallot. you go one direction, another direction, another direction, and then you have your even pieces. So with an onion, with the beef, anything you're chopping, that's the best way to do it. As opposed to just wildly cutting all, you know, like that and trying to get it even. You'll end up with bigger chunks, smaller chunks, which is not what we want. One more bit, we're almost done, and then the fun part. All right, so I like things like tangy and savory, so I'm gonna put a good amount of this, of flavoring into this, and I like mine all mixed together as opposed to separate on the plate. It's separate with the capers and all that. So I'm gonna start assembling. I just realized my round circle mold is on the other side of the room, so I'll get that in a bit. Okay, bowl of perfectly chopped beef tenderloin. Now, my kids would eat this like as is. I mean, when beef is very fresh like this and freshly chopped and everything, it is so tasty. So we are gonna add some stuff to it. But they used to try to eat like the hamburger before I cooked it. I was like, you can have some, but not too much. Who knows what that is. All right, I'm putting in here. Teresa, if you have questions, we're into our steak tartare, so let me know, and anyone else who's here as well. So for a pound of beef, I'm putting in a little more than a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. All right, a splash of red wine vinegar. I like that because it kind of cures the shallot and everything that we're putting in later. Start mixing. Okay, a dash of Worcestershire sauce. I don't know if I spell that correctly on every time I write it. I'm like, is that right? Worcestershire. That gives it that rich umami flavor. You know, it brings like a richness and a savoriness to this. Okay. David says he's a little bit squeamish about eating raw beef. Interesting. I don't think you're alone in that. It is like, I don't want to say it's an acquired taste, it's an acquired like habit, right, to eat raw food. Whether it's sushi, I mean, sometimes I laugh, I'm putting a little salt and pepper. We did not grow up eating sushi, there's my pepper, in the 80s, but now people, my kids just eat it like it's their absolute favorite thing. So it's worth a try. It has a very fresh taste to it, but I'm glad you're watching anyway, even if it's not your cup of tea. But I do say it's worth a try. And okay, now the pepper just brought out like the beef smell. Like, oh, it's good. It brought out almost like, now it smells like a hamburger. It tastes like a hamburger, like the medium rare middle part of a hamburger. All right, so we're gonna chop a shallot to put in there and then chop up our capers as well so they incorporate a little bit better. And I'm going to heat up this pan a little bit to make our Parmesan crisp to put on top. So Teresa says she is also, wait, who's saying this? Teresa. A little bit squeamish about it as well. So, well, I don't know. I can coerce David. I don't know if I can coerce Teresa since David is my brother. But I do hope you'll try it. All right, so one shallot, maybe half a shallot. Let's see how much it looks like. And Helene says it's delish. Good. We have a, one on the team tartare. So I did read about the history a little bit. So, okay, shallot, we're going across without cutting the fingers. Because I want this to be a very fine dice as well, so we don't have chunks of anything. It's another one where we plan out the mouth feel before we start. That in this case, everything should be about the same. Nothing bigger than a different part. Oh, I was starting to say I looked up the history, which I guess it's maybe just lore, but that the Tartar clans coming out of like the Caucasus Mountains, which is now part of Turkey, were always warring with neighboring clans and didn't have time to cook their meat. So that's why this is called Steak Tartare, that it originated from those days, which is interesting, makes sense. All right, we have half a shallot. I might, let's see, what is that, like 2 tablespoons of shallot? I think it's probably enough. So, I mean, shallots come in such a variety of sizes, it's hard to say, one, but this was a medium-sized one, half of it, and I'm going to dice this a little bit smaller. All right. So, just run your knife, hold one end down, run your knife through all the pieces until they're uniformly small. And if you picture like chopped capers, that's the size we're going for. So I think we achieved that. David says, I'm going to help him acquire the taste. Yes, I am. We will be having this next time I see you. All right, 2 tablespoons approximately of minced shallot are going in. And then I love capers. I happen to love capers. Not everybody does, I guess, but whoops, the juice just finished over. But I'm going to take maybe a few tablespoons of those and chop them as well. So, I put all my utensils over here today thinking this makes sense because I'm always searching for them and I keep forgetting and getting new ones out of the drawer. So eventually I'll get used to that. Okay, without their brine, just, and these are brined capers, not salted capers, which would need to be soaked first. And we want that briny tanginess to the dish. Okay, that's about 2 tablespoons, and we'll put a few more on top for a garnish. And I'm going to do the same thing, just run my knife through these as well, slowly, so that they don't roll away. All right, so capers are actually a flower from the something plant, I can't remember what plant, but they are technically flowers. And that brininess just adds some zip to this whole mixture. Okay, let's stir this up. This makes me feel nostalgic. And we're going to taste and see if we want any more mustard, any more Worcestershire. What do we need in here? So hold on. So this, I mean, we talk a lot about do ahead. Can we do something ahead for a party? This is another one that will impress your guests. You could do smaller size ones as an appetizer or a first course. First course on a plate, or really small ones as an appetizer on the toast point or on like a Melba toast size piece. That would be very nice hors d'oeuvre as well. And then tonight we're doing more like entree size. Tonight we're doing maybe in between size. We'll see how we feel. So let's taste. That's all mixed together. Oh, yum. The flavors are perfect. They're perfect. Do I want some more of something? I think I want a little bit more mustard. So let's say that was 2 teaspoons of mustard. All right, mix that in. This is heating up. I turn it up a little more. I might do 2 things with this Parmesan crisp. One is unrelated to what we're doing, which is that you can make a larger one of this and form it into a bowl. You could serve this inside, or you can serve a salad. Ooh, this is nice and crispy. It's so good. Serve a salad in that. That's a nice party idea as well. So while we're at it, maybe we'll do that. All right, we'll let this combine for a few minutes. Let's check our toast. It's not toast yet. It is still bread. Okay. And this is heating up. I'm gonna heat it up a little more. And I'm going to leave you for literally 10 seconds to get my mold. Let's see here. This will come as no surprise to anyone. I have all my cookie cutters in these boxes categorized by shape and type. So these are my generic shape cookie cutters. And I use these round ones a lot for plating things. So if you could do it for rice, mashed potatoes, if you're going to put something on top of them. There's so many things you can use these for, and you kind of just put it on the plate, push whatever it is into it, and then gently pull up, and you have as I said on the promo text, a fancy schmancy presentation. And Stacy wrote to me and said, "You had me at schmancy," and I was like, well, rightfully so. We fancy schmancy girls have to stick together. And, it's just a nice way to present something on the plate, and it's so simple. So I put some links to similar things on the write-up as well. So, all right, let's check this. It's hot. Usually this gets burning hot immediately, but we're going to be working with grated Parmesan cheese, like the finely grated kind. And that is it. That's the only ingredient for this crisp. So we're doing this the style that I had in Paris. But first let's make the cheese crisp bowl just to check it out. So the cheese crisp bowl, I'll probably put, that was maybe 4 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. Spread it around, but keep it like still one pushed together a little bit. Does that make sense? Spread it around, but don't let any like lone pieces go off on their own. Keep it in a mass. And that's already melting. So we're basically going to toast that, and then when it's brown on one side, flip it over, and then form it over a little bowl, and you'll see what I mean about using it as a serving bowl just for any day. This is just a little bonus thing. And then we'll make one about this size that I just started to eat for our steak tartare. Okay, so toast is smelling more like toast. Oh, look at this, it's already bubbling up. That looks great. They get these like little holes in them and from the bubbles and look like a tuile cookie. Tuile cookies can also be molded into any shape. So, all right, we're going to clear our space and kind of plate this in stages. Okay. Oh, we were going to do salad dressing too. Wait a second. While that's happening, we'll make a quick salad dressing. Similar to last week, I'm adding a little bit of honey because we have not as much sweetness going on. So let's just, some mustard. That was a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of mustard. We'll probably do this frequently, so we'll get the recipe sort of down. But mustard, lemon juice. Okay, we roll our lemon before we cut it so we can get the most juice out of it. I just turned around and saw the salad greens and was like, whoa, I forgot we had this plan. Okay, squeeze the lemon. I'm just doing it in this plastic container. Anything you can shake basically is fine. And what I did not do last week was add the salt at this point. So you want the salt to dissolve in the acid, not in the oil. It won't dissolve in the oil. So we added at this point. So I did that. And this week I'm adding some honey at this point as well to dissolve in there. I knew there was more to this. I was like, that was too easy. Let's check our Parmesan. All right, you can see that it's brown. We're gonna try to flip it. Sticking. What's your stick on me? Oh boy. Well, it's stuck a little bit, but let's give it one more second on this side. And then we want to catch it while it's still soft. and get it onto a mold. So there's our mold. And push it. That was not quite the right size for a mold. Hold on here. Teacup, maybe? Let's get the teacup. Push this down. It wasn't the best one. You'll do better. It will stay rounder. But you can see the idea. It drapes over this, and then when it firms up, it will be that shape. Okay, that's a future project for us. Not the best example, but let's make our small one now for the steak tartare. Okay, I have a picture that I will post. This is smoking, holy moly. I have a picture that it may be on my Instagram, or I may have archived it. Like, it was the Parmesan cheese bowl about this big, with like a steak salad inside. So the salad greens and the steak, hanger steak. That was awesome. So maybe we'll do that separately. This was a preview. Okay, for this one, 2 tablespoons of grated cheese. Oh, I'm just gonna do it like that. Like, give it a little shake to get the cheese spread out, and put it back over there. Okay. So we have lemon juice, mustard, honey, salt in here. I'm going to add a little red wine vinegar. People do it without the egg yolk this week. The mustard will act as an emulsifier, so we're going to make it less creamy, less yellow and bright, more acidic because we have the honey. I'm kind of going off the top of my head. The point of this being you can do it however you want, but you do need an emulsifier, so egg yolk or mustard, and then just some olive oil. So last week we used both. This week we're going to put an egg yolk on top of the steak tartare, so we'll do that. All right, you can see the wheels turning right now. David says, please take a close-up photo of the teacup with cheese hat for bonus content. I will do that, and I'll show it to you up close in a second. All right, this container has a little hole in the lid, so hopefully this isn't going to go everywhere. Nope, it's not. So just shake it up until the mustard is incorporated and your dressing kind of comes together into one, not separated anymore. And now we have our dressing. All right. Here's our teacup up close, but I will get a better picture of that. Let's see. It made more of a boat. It's not so bad. If you receive that on your plate with something nice in it, it's not terrible. Okay, and now we're going to flip this one. So let's try this again. My pan is sticking a little bit, which is making things a weird shape. Oh, but look at it. Yum, yum, yum. Now just turn off the heat and let that finish on its own. Okay, we're now in the home stretch. Let's see here. I'm tempted to put the steak tartare in here, but that's not what we're doing right now. Maybe we'll do more than one. Okay, we have our plate, and we're going to take, I think I'll make it a small, how big do I want this to be? No, I'll do a bigger size one, and I'm going to do this off to the side a little bit so we have room for our toast, our salad, and the cheese crisp, and traditionally a steak tartare has an egg yolk on top, so we're going to do that as well. So, plating wise, let's see here. I need more room so that you can see. Move this. All right, so the larger one, this is a 3-inch diameter, and a pound should serve for 3 to 4. So let's see what a quarter of this looks like, and if we want to add more, we can add more. And when you're molding like this, just give it sort of a little bit of a push down and a push towards the edges. So when you remove the mold, it stays in place. Okay, yeah, a quarter of it was perfect. So I drew lines across this before I started and took out 1/4. And that filled this mold perfectly. All right, I'm giving it a little bit of a push down, not too much. I don't want to smoosh it too much. And then slowly pulling upwards. And voila, there we go. All right, that looks so pretty already. You can see the chopped capers and shallot, you know, the mustard and all that. So we're going to do the traditional thing, which is to put an egg yolk on top. You can also mix the egg yolk in. It, of course, makes it a little bit of a looser consistency. I prefer it to be on top and then sort of mix it in yourself while you're eating. I also saw, if you are squeamish, we have two people who might not want to do it this way, that you can separate your egg the way we always do, and then poach your egg yolk. I wouldn't drop it in the way we did with our eggs Benedict, but just on a slotted spoon, take your egg yolk, dip it into the hot water for maybe 30 seconds, so it ends up the consistency of like a runny egg yolk on a fried egg. I thought that was a really good idea. So it's not totally raw, but not cooked soft. Oh, I broke the yolk. That is why I always do it in a separate bowl. Okay. That goes in the teacup. We'll mix those two things back together for breakfast and try again. So before I do it, actually I want to make an indent so when my hands are full, it's already there. Okay, indent, try again. Okay. You don't want any white really. Sometimes it doesn't matter if there's a little bit, but since it's sitting right on top, don't tell me I broke it again. I don't think so. Okay. All right, so I'm putting the egg yolk directly on top. Oh, that looks so pretty. It looks so pretty. Okay, like that. That's very traditional. Let's move our whites over here. And then I have chives from my garden, of course. This is my favorite time of year, so we'll garnish with that. Oh, I love it. All right, we'll check on our toast. Toast is fine. Let's take some of that. I'm just using my fingers. It's not browned, but it is firm, like a little bit crisp. Let's get them going the same way, same direction. Move all of this so you can see what's going on. Okay. We don't need any of this, right? No. Okay, and our salad. So this just came together very quickly. I mean, I was dragging my feet a little bit and adding steps, but we've done this in about half an hour to a classic French meal. Exactly, this looks almost exactly like the plate from Paris, so I'm quite happy. This is just these like crisp, I think they're called little crisp lettuce that are so crunchy and beautiful. And our dressing that we just made. I'm gonna give that a taste first. That's delicious. The honey adds a little sweetness that will go against the Dijon in the steak tartare, and you can see the mustard did emulsify it, so it hasn't separated into oil and vinegar. It stays together. That's what we're looking for, and we'll just drizzle that on top like that. And the pièce de résistance. This is totally optional, but I like to be a little extra. How should we put it? Maybe we'll put that on top. No, we'll just lean it on the edge. Our Parmesan crisp. That actually adds a nice counterpoint as well. A little bit of fat on the steak tartare, which does not have much fat on it. Okay, so David says it looks wonderful. Diana says hello and yum. Thank you, Diana. Hello to you. Yum is right. I agree. So this is really just one of the most delicious dishes, and it came together really nicely, so I'm pleased right now. So let's Teresa says it looks beautiful. Thank you, Teresa. So I hope you'll all try this at home. I'm sure, as you saw, it's very simple to do. There are some modifications you can make, like the egg yolk that we talked about, if that's not your cup of tea, but it is definitely worth a try. So let me try, first I'm supposed to pick this up and smile at the camera so that you can see it. And let's get it up close as well. So there's our finished dish. And John says, bon appetit. Thank you very much, John. All right, let's try this. Let's try kind of like without the egg yolk and with the egg yolk. Mmm. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. Like the capers, shallot, Dijon mustard combination is really what you taste. I mean, that is delicious. And then we're gonna break this yolk and kind of mix it together on the edge. Try that. That is good. I never thought so much about what the egg yolk adds or doesn't add. It adds a definite richness, more of like the fat that the meat itself does not have, because there's no oil or anything in here. So that is really tasty. Let's try it on our cheese crisp one time. That's the winning combination. That's so good. Okay, that's really good. It would be a lot to have just these. You definitely need toast a little bit milder, and then one of those for a little extra flavor. And some salad to brighten it up. Okay, that's all delicious. I'll just keep eating. Helene says, I want it in my belly. I agree. So, if you do make this, send me a picture. I would love to see it and know what you thought. I've been making for the past 2 weeks 1-minute summaries of our live streams and putting them on Instagram and TikTok under Coco Huff as well. If you're interested in that, it's basically the full recipe in under a minute. And then replays on YouTube as well. And as usual, I'm just very happy that you are all here with me. Thank you so much for cooking with me tonight. You know, get in touch anytime. I love requests. I love chatting with you about food and kitchens and all these things that we talk about. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy. I hope everything is terrific for all of you. And I'll see you next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Love you. Bye-bye.